成功。
Now let's come back and resume our class. Next question. Under what circumstances or requirements can a measure otherwise inconsistent with the RTAs, with the GATT 1994 be justified under Article 24.5 of GATT 1994? To put it another way, what are the requirements for the members to establish an RTA? There are two requirements. Listen carefully. The measure is introduced upon the formation of a customs union, a free trade area, or an interim agreement. Requirement number 2, the formation of the customs union or free trade area would be prevented if the introduction of the measure at issue were not allowed. Okay. Another important concept is about customs union. What's customs union? What is a customs union? And a free trade area. I'll give you an example of customs union. EC. What does this stand for? What does EC mean? European communities, right? The predecessor of EU is EC, right? Actually, EC is a customs union, not just a free trade area. As you can see, I never put EU here, right? Right? Why? Because EU is essentially a customs union. What's the difference between a customs union and a free trade area? Which one has greater integration of the economy? Huh? Think again. Your second choice is correct. This one has a greater integration of economic activities. Why? Think about EU, euro. In EU, we have a euro, right? It's a currency. In this one, can you find a currency? No, only in EU, EC. There's a separate independent currency there, right? And that's why we say EU, the customs union, has a greater integration of the economy. They've already formed euro. No pains, no gains. Yeah. If you want to get a high score, memorize something. Next question. Can the trade liberalization pursued within RTAs become a stepping stone to a multilateral agreement? Again, can the integration of economy within an RTA become a stepping stone of a multilateral trade agreement? Let's change, for example, change the provisions in RCEP into a multilateral WTO agreement. Is it possible? There is a stepping stone to change or transform the provisions of an RTA into the provisions of a multilateral one. Is that possible? In theory, it's possible, but in reality, almost impossible, right? What is the trend of nowadays negotiations on RTAs? Trend. What's the trend of nowadays negotiations on RTAs? What's the trend? Look here. Today, RTAs are developing in ways that go beyond existing multilateral rules. The scope is bigger or greater than the multilateral rules. The areas they cover issues on investment, movement of capital and persons, competition and state-owned enterprises, e-commerce, e-commerce, and AI even. Yes, there are rules on AI in some RTA negotiations, but in WTO, there's no. DIPA, you know DIPA? This is also an RTA. Digital Economy Partnership Agreement, right? So this RTA is led by which country? Singapore. Singapore is a developed country, and in this area, in digital economy, it is leading the negotiation on the issue of AI, artificial intelligence, and the digital economy. And what else? Look, anti-corruption. Anti-corruption is ISDS an ideal platform for the resolution of anti-corruption issues? You don't have any memory of that thing yet? You chose that as your topic of a dissertation. Is ISDS an appropriate platform for the resolution of anti-corruption issues? Anti-corruption issues. And intellectual property rights. All these issues are covered by RTAs, while not covered by the WTO agreement. In WTO agreement, there's no. Only in these. So, all in all, we are learning international economic rules, right? Actually, we are learning the rules in these ones. The WTO agreements the rules of WTO rules are rather few, not that many rules. A huge body of rules are here. E-commerce, anti-corruption, AI are the three topics I am now working on. Okay, e-commerce, anti-corruption. Why anti-corruption? Originally, I have no interest in anti-corruption, but our law school is currently building a totally new discipline. It's called discipline inspection, something like a 纪检监察专业. A major named discipline inspection. Discipline inspection, 纪律检查. And anti-corruption. Actually, in discipline inspection is a public law, is a branch of public law, right? It relates to criminal procedures, something like that, right? Coincidentally, it has something to do with our international economic law. And that's why there is an issue about ISDS can be an appropriate platform for the resolution of anti-corruption issues. And what about the RTAs? Anti-corruption in RTAs. What's the relationship between these two issues? What's the pursuit of WTO rules and RTAs? Trade liberalization, right? Then what's the relationship between trade liberalization and anti-corruption? Think about it. Yes. Environment protection, also here, as you can see. There's no environment. Actually, yes, there is also environmental protection here. Actually, WTO is just a platform, a forum. And it has so many radiations issues. E-commerce, AI, environmental protection, anti-corruption, intellectual property rights, investment, movement of persons and capital. Not just the WTO, also include WTO's exceptions, the RTAs. And that's why this discipline, this subject of WTO has huge content for your research. Okay. If you choose to further your study as a postgraduate, you may always put your energy on these issues. Okay. Next question. What are RTAs on trade in services referred to in the GATS? Actually, as you can see, there is a separate chapter in USEMCA. It's about investment. There is a separate chapter about anti-corruption, a separate chapter in this. is about anti-corruption. 有这样看。And there is a separate chapter on trading services. That's a chapter. Trading services. About 30-ish chapters in this Yosemite. It represents the trade roles in the 21st century. The next question is, what are RTAs on trading services referred to in GATS? In GATT, we call them RTAs. This is for GATT. Because RTAs is an exception to GATT 1994, Article 24. But what about in GATS? It's about article, it's an exception, article what? Article 5. But it has another name. It's not called RTAs. It's called what? This is the regional trade agreements on trading goods and anyway, it's okay. I'll just tell you the answer directly. I'll feed you the answers. It's called Economic Integration Agreements. Economic Integration Agreements. In Article 5 of GATS, the counterpart of RTAs is called Economic Integration Agreements, not RTAs. RTAs are mainly about trading goods. For trading services, the term is called Economic Integration Agreement. That's 2 points. It's worth 2 points because it's a blank. You got it? Okay. I think thus far, maybe you are almost completely lost. Now, let's go further to section 7. The exceptions for economic development. You still remember the development dimension in WTO? What's that about? Development dimension. What's that about? Development dimension. It's about developing countries. Why it's called development dimension? It's about the preferences offered by the developed countries to those developing or least developed countries. Economic development also relates to the preferences offered by the developed ones to the developing and the least developed ones. Okay. How many categories of rules are there? Actually, it's also called S and D treatment provisions, special and differential treatment provisions. 特殊与差别待遇条款 can be divided into 6 categories, as you can see. from 1 to 6. Okay. Again, regarding trading goods, we've got a separate instrument. It's called enabling clause. The enabling clause. Sorry, I cannot see. Here, enabling clause. You need to know that. You need to know this term. It's called an enabling clause. But it's only for trading goods. We've got an enabling clause. This is an instrument about the preferences offered by developed countries. And in trade and for trade in services, do we have a similar enabling clause for these S and D provisions? S and D provisions? Yes or no? No, we do not have something similar to enabling clause. And look, there is a famous case. It's called EC, tariff preferences. This is a case, European Communities tariff preferences. Tariff preference is a kind of preferential tariffs. What does that mean? Actually, in China, I've already told you before about this one. What does GSP mean? Generalized system of preferences. 普惠制. Generalized system of preferences. This is a regime designed for the developed countries, for example, EU, to give preferential tariff rates to those developing countries, even China included. If you are an exporting company in China, you want to export a product to EU, then the tariff rates will be lower than the ordinary ones, than the rates offered to developed countries, to Japan, for example. They're different. Because China is a developing country, China's companies, exporting companies, enjoy a preferential tariff rate, which means lower tariff rates if you want to export products to EU. While if you are an exporting company in Japan, you do not share this because Japan is a developed country. And if you want to enjoy this lower tariff rate, Of course, it's about trading goods. If you want to enjoy the lower tariff rates, you need to prepare a form. What does form mean? Huh? Yeah, good. Form, it's called Form A. It's in green. It has a green background. Green background. I once worked in a foreign trade company, right? I saw these kind of forms. I prepared these forms. Form A. It has a green back. It's a green back. All the Chinese companies can get this kind of Form A if you want to export goods to EU. Okay. Then you will have you will enjoy the benefits of the GSP, Generalized System of Preferences. Look, the Generalized System of Preferences of the EC. And there are some issues about the tariffs, the conceptions of tariffs, and I think that will become the last important point. Tariffs, we've got reciprocal tariffs. Oh, I'm at yes. We've got reciprocal tariffs, and we've got base tariffs, and we've got additional tariffs. Tariffs can be divided into three types: base tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, and additional tariffs. What does additional tariffs mean? Look here, additional tariff preferences. Is it similar to additional tariffs? Where did I put the additional tariff? Okay, look, wait. Okay, what are additional tariffs? I'll tell you, listen carefully. Additional tariffs are those applied to specific products or countries for specific reasons to address specific unfair trade practices or protect a specific domestic industry from harm. Then what's the difference between additional tariff, reciprocal tariff, and the base tariff? Listen, a base tariff is the standard or foundational rate of duty applied to an imported good. This is the starting point for the taxes a product will incur upon entering a country. While reciprocal tariffs refer to the imposition of the same or higher tariff rates by the United States based on the tariff rates imposed by its trading partners on American goods. Have you got the point? Anyway, this base tariff is a starting point of tariff rates for everything, all the goods. The reciprocal tariffs are only imposed by the United States, just like the tariff rates of 50%, right? It's on the basis of a comparison. If China imposes a tariff rate on this microphone, for example, from the United States, a tariff rate of 50%, then the United States will impose a reciprocal tariff the same or higher than 50%, maybe 60%. It is a tariff imposed on the basis of comparison. Reciprocal, mutual. And it's only imposed by the United States for some specific reasons, right? For example, to pursue BOP, balance of payments, trade surplus, to remove the trade deficit. To alleviate the trade deficit, the United States imposes reciprocal tariffs on the basis of comparison between the tariff rates imposed by its trading partners. For example, China's tariff rates on microphones is 50%, then United States will impose a tariff rate similar to 50% or higher to 50%, for example, 60% tariff rate on the microphones exported from China to the United States. Rather important, these three concepts. Otherwise, there is, for example, your father or your mother ask you, what is reciprocal tariff? What would you say to him or her? Yes, it's based on comparison to pursue specific purpose. What kind of purpose? To alleviate or remove trade deficit, right? To pursue these specific purposes, United States imposes these reciprocal tariffs. It's not a base tariff. Of course, additional tariffs also for specific purposes. But reciprocal is based on comparison, okay? For example, the duties on safeguard measures. I mean, countervailing duties or anti-dumping duties. Are they, which type of tariffs belong to? Yes, good. They are additional tariffs because they are for specific purposes of anti-dumping and countervailing purposes. Okay, that's everything I'd like to talk about the rules on exceptions. And that's everything about the whole WTO course. I am not quite sure how much have you understood. And of course, there are those contents that I never mentioned in class, but I attached the important questions into those I sent to you in the VChat group. Most of them have the answers to them, right? Most of them I've offered the answers to those questions, and you need to at least have a browse of it. The method is like this. Use the translation function. Translate them into Chinese and read them. It's not that difficult, right? You understand it. Then, but in the exam, for these 20 true or false questions, they appear in English. You need to understand it in English and make your judgments, whether it's true or false. But for other questions, such like gap filling questions, short answer questions, essay type questions, and explanation of technical terms, nouns, you need to memorize or recite them. Again, similar meaning, expressions of similar meaning will also be accepted as the correct answer. Okay. What questions do you have? It's the question time. Anything to ask? Anything about this course, the content, or the final exam? Any questions? Any more questions? Okay, next week I will review some of the key points in this course. And the most important point is about the essay type question. I will review that because last week some of the students told me that that part is rather difficult. You said which part? About the requirements of the Article 20. It's hard, it's difficult to understand, right? Coincidentally, I failed to record that period. And that's why I would like to redo it. I'd like to redo it, okay? The first period of last week, I will redo it. And then we will review some other key points about the final exam. And that would be everything of the schedule. Okay, any questions? If there are no more questions, then I think we could make it the end for this week's class. Okay. This is the beautiful campus of Xiamen University. I hope someday you may visit there. Okay. Okay, thank you. Oh, class is over. I'll see you next week. Goodbye for now.